Well. Good evening. It is Saturday evening this evening, and we are back officially for 2022, our first show. You are listening to Dr. Margaret and Dr. Katie Speaks this evening, and we are going to be talking all about meditation and states of mind. Now, it is important to notice that people can get it really muddled up when we're talking about meditation and higher states of mind. And so we are going to be here teaching you, or at least making you aware of what the different states of mind are and what good meditation or bad meditation is. Now, I can tell you right now that there is no such thing as good or bad meditation. So, and that is really encouraging to people because it can go wrong. But let's be real for a moment. The definitive is meditation rule that isn't so black and white. For example, what happens when your meditation stops resembling meditation? What happens when you're going through the motions but instead meditating, but you're really just napping in a semi-conscious twilight zone? Or worse, you just read a book of many authors out there about the benefits of meditation and how to feel set your timer for 20 minutes and simply breathing is going to make you superhuman. I can tell you, not so. So let us allow us to make subtle inclinations about what is much needed in terms of our altered state of mind and how we get to that maximum point of understanding what meditation really is, the benefits of it, and what the higher states of consciousness really are. So I'm going to hand it over to Margaret, and we're going to dive deep into this, and we're going to tell you exactly what bad meditation but I'm going to tell you right now, before I hand it over, that bad meditation is still meditation, and non-meditation is still bad meditation. So either way, you could be wrong, could be right. There's no wrong or right ways to learn, and there's no wrong or right ways to meditate. So pass it over to you.
Well, I wasn't expecting to dive in on the meditation then. I thought we were going to start with the states of mind because basically what makes you want to meditate in the first place is a state of how you're thinking. And a lot of people will say, I'm really stressed. I've got 900 billion things to do. And I really go to bed and I can't sleep because I'm still processing all these 999 things that I feel I have to take control of. And of course, when one is musing, as in pressure or stress, that is a form of meditation because you're sitting there in the twilight zone of your brain box saying, well, this is very important, and then there's this, that's important, and then there's this, it's not so important, but you're still worrying about it, and so on. And while you're going through that, your brain is busy sorting out which one jumps up at me that is the most important part that I need to really work on straight away. And that has been a very short but very strong positive suggestion by yourself to yourself to choose something to focus on. In meditation, the consciousness of what people have talked about has been birthed from way back, even before you were born, Katie. We have people meditating because of war and all this kinds of thing. And if we go back through eons of time to Romans and Greeks, they all knew how to relax, empty their mind, and so on. And even back in those times, they found the herbs that they took so that they could get into the twilight zone in some way in their brain. And when we go into, say, Brazil and into the deep part of the forestry there, let's call it that one, jungle, because people live in there, they know their local homegrown herbs. And so when they know it's a certain moon or a certain day or a certain something by whatever they think, they come together and they mix these sort of, I don't know what to call it, a gruel, It's the best thing. And it's a mixture of herbs and milk from the cows or whatever they milk. I don't think they have cows. They have pigs or something. But they make this gruel. Get the right word. And then they're all like spaced out, which is like people today doing marijuana. Now, what I want to clear up, though, and I'm sure you're going to say something about this too, is the idea that meditation is the cure-all. Mm-hmm. And that when you go into meditation, you will have an empty mind. And I've yet to find anyone, even I've had master teachers, Buddhist master teachers with me, and I've said to them, it's particularly in Japan and India, two countries where I asked questions about it, because they were both known for their meditation and whatever. And I asked these people, so have you learned to empty your mind? And the response was yes and no. But I said, what's yes? Well, yes is I'm not thinking about all my issues, but no, I am thinking about who am I going to talk to, who is in the oneness, is it an angel, or is it, and then I have to stop that story part of myself and then come to an empty mind. And so I was trying that many years ago. I mean, got to go back a long time, my 30s maybe. I was really, really trying to have an empty mind. And you could imagine with 4 children and all the rest of it, I was really a busy bee, so go to bed, yes, worry about everything, and try and go through, put them all on the side, and then think about the quiet and the spirit guides that I've been talking to forever and ever in my head. So even when I'm lying down, I was talking away. And believe you me, I could not empty my mind and just lie there like a zombie. And even today, if I meditate, I can empty my mind to a point where I'm not thinking about 900 billion things, but I'm still picking a theme. I'm still picking something I want to focus on. What do you do?
Well, see, I've been told that, and I have a lot of clients that come to me and they say to me, oh, I can't meditate. I can't do this. I can't do that. Well, there's no such thing as can in the first place anyway. But what I will say is that that we've all been taught that we have to sit down in some quiet place and with our hands out in a relaxed position on our knees and do some sort of or something, or just close our eyes and focus, right? That's not the case, because we've been told to do that. That's not necessarily, that's one form of meditation. However, if, for example, I told you that there was no good or bad type of exercising, you wouldn't go sit on the couch for 2 hours and watch TV for 2 hours and class that as exercise, would you?
Mm.
But so in terms of, if I relate this to, say, exercising, broadly speaking, there's an effective and ineffective way of exercising. It's the same with meditation. So we kind of get engulfed in the endless ways of speaking about the what's good, what's bad, what's this, what's that. But there is no way to actually do it. For me, though, I meditate through music. And music, I work with music. I pretty much, as you see me right now, is how I'm pretty much all day long. My headphones are pretty much attached to my head, and I get spaced out through simply listening to music.
Mm.
I don't go ahead and I start listening to hard rock or metal or something like that. Something that will allow my vibration to lift myself up to a different frequency, so that I'm able to think and think more clearly and gain the clarity that I need in order to go in the direction that I want to go in, so that I don't have cloudy thoughts.
Well, the one thing that I learned, because of trying to empty my mind back in those days, was the fact that I was a trance medium.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I've been doing this publicly since early 21 to something like that. And the bottom line was to go into a trance state so that the spirit guides could work through me. I had to think of something, and because one is breathing deeply and they work with you, so eventually even your breathing pattern sounds differently in your brain, and it sounds like a wind, like something going through you as they're breathing through you and working with your body. And so what I learned by sharing my body over the years with them and doing all my sermons in trance in the churches, all sorts of things in those days, you come out of it, because trance light is like being or meditation is like being in a sleep mode. And when you come out of it, you kind of open your eyes to see all these people staring at you like this, and you know, and it's like, oh, where's the nearest hole I want to climb in and hide myself, because I don't know what I've just said or done, you know, in some way. So what I learned from that was that I need to ask my spirit guides to teach me how to meditate and remember what they were saying, which was the beginning of me moving into, you know, being, as I am today, a conscious channel all the time. I don't need to go into trance. I can hear them talking to me. I can hear them telling me what to do and so on. So now what I do is, apart from working on myself, I'm just talking about like if I want to go and hear them, all I have to do is realign my chakras and lift my vibration. They're there and they're talking to me and telling me whatever I need to hear, and I'm responding to them just like I'm talking to you. And my point of mentioning this is that people believe that when you meditate, you have to kind of enter the twilight zone, you know, and you're going to be seeing and hearing all sorts of fantastic things. And of course, when they're laying there, they're trying to get there and they don't get there and they get frustrated. And so different things happen. And I'll talk about those physical things later. But I want to come back to the states of mind because I think it's very important that we listen. So let's go negative. You know, when a person has a lot of problems, and like me when I was young, worrying about money, worrying about the kids, worrying about whether how you're going to pay the mortgage or whatever it is in some way, money, money, money. That song in Cabaret, money, 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 not if it goes on like this. I remember listening to that and thinking, money, money, money. And I went to bed that night and I used the word money as a meditational thing by going money, 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 over and over again. And all of a sudden, I was no longer saying it. I was now standing in something else I'd seen. So I want to be sure people understand how the pattern works. There was a program on television where they put you in a box. It was a game show. And when they pressed the button, all these dollars, $10 bills or whatever they were falling down over you. And you had to grab as many as you could in so many seconds before the air stops blowing them down. And whatever you come out with, you get to keep. So I'm doing this money, money, money thing, and all of a sudden I'm being surrounded by dollar bills. And I went, oh, so this must be a message that I'm going to make a lot of money. Well, that was a wonderful thing to know. And it eventually manifested 10 years later when I went to Japan, where I was able, in America, because I made a lot of money in America in the beginning and so on, because I was the only, nobody knew about mediums or stuff like that. No, I was popular. And I made a lot of money. But guess what? I didn't have the wisdom or the knowledge either to invest or share that money. So, you know, in terms of thinking of your old age, because there's always money to pay, you know. And so my meditation that night was not about making money, even though I'd said money over and over again, even though I'd seen myself with dollars all around me. What it was really about was the message, plain and clear, was we've got you. We know what you want, and we can give it to you, but when you need it, really need it, not when you think you need it. And there's a big difference, because you could be on the street, and now I'm going to go to another mindset, where you say to people, why are you living on the street? Well, I can't get a job. Well, I can't afford an apartment. Well, I can't run my car. Well, I can't. I'm living in my car. At least I can get about. But I have to pay this. I have to pay that. And so I'm stuck in this circle. Okay? Now, you could apply that circle to anything else. And so what we have to say here is the state of mind is I'm used to going round in circles, right? And we actually say I'm going round in circles, but we don't realize that what we think here on the conscious level goes into the subconscious here, where you have billions of images of everything that you've ever seen recorded there for you to pull on, and going right back to the back of the head, where the five senses are processed into the brain in different ways, and then sends it back to all the way through the subconscious, the conscious mind, and gives you an image. And if you're meditating, i.e. with the money, I manifested something I'd already seen, which was the money falling down on the show. So you've got a memory that was long ago used at a time when I was going round in circles with money, and it took me about 10 years to understand that one night, because we don't necessarily get what is given to us. Okay? Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Now add your spirit guides. Oh, I want to meditate and talk to my spirit guides, but I don't know who they are, and I need an identity, which is from this earthly world. Oh, if I go up the street and there's four strangers, I can't talk to them because I don't know who they are and I don't trust them, because who knows, they could have a knife under their belt or a gun, and I want to be safe, and I'm nervous about going out because there are strangers out there. You apply that same thought to meditation, because if I hear an extra noise in the room in the background, I've got to open my eyes and have a look. Okay, if I'm shutting my eyes and they keep blinking, I'm running, or I'm getting emotional or something, I'm crying or something, I've got to distract myself with wiping my eyes. Or I'm thirsty, I need to drink water, just have a sip of water, and I'll maybe meditate. All these things that we do when we're trying to meditate are actually garbage, but our conscious mind is bringing up, so that we don't meditate. Why? Because we are afraid of the spirit guides. Just the same as we're afraid of three people standing down the road who don't even notice you, but you've decided they're dangerous. And so, when you're asking to talk to your spirit guides, it's very important that one does psychic development and learn about spirit guides. And here I want to just point out, spirit guides don't say a lot. So if you're thinking of meditating and you want to hear a whole, dialogue with them, all you're going to get as you're talking, like, will I go here, will I go there? If the answer's no, it's silence. So you're thinking, I didn't get anything, but you're actually getting something. It's saying, no, it's not on the cards for you. Let's put it that way. If you actually are saying, will I do something, and they know that it is going to manifest, they'll say, when you're ready. It's never like, yes, on Tuesday the 10th of July in the year 2023, you will have whatever it is you're asking for. Have you noticed that when you're meditating?
Not at all.
No? What happens when you're meditating?
I then get a burst of creativity. You got to remember here too that the wider audience that we do have are not always going to tap into psychic development. So we have to see it for what it is, for meditation and different capacities, for different capacities of learning. And so I will say that one of my biggest mantras, so to speak, would be sit, walk, and write. And
That's what you do all day,
yeah,
yeah.
well, this is exactly what I do all day. It's where I found my peace. And so, even though we know that the mind is a wonderful thing, it can sometimes get in the way of our creativity. Now, and mainly that's because the voice in our head can get in the way of what our heart really wants to say. And sometimes this voice can turn really dark and can lead to feelings of fear, guilt, anger, sadness, envy, and resentment.
Well, that's what I was saying. It's the same as my analogy of three people down the road, and the mind is rationalizing through the life's experiences. And so it's not I wasn't putting a spiritual twist on this. I'm just saying how the mind works. So when you do try and meditate and ask your spirit guides or angels or whatever you think they are, if you're in church, the synagogue, wherever you go, when you reach out, your conscious mind has to protect you. So it basically takes you into stuff you've seen before, and you're trying to rationalize that seen before image into this must be a message. And a lot of times you're just your own counselor to yourself.
Pretty much.
Because the spirit guides will not say anything. If you were pleading to win, shall we say, the lottery, right? They could well say something like, don't do it, but you still don't do it because you want to win it, right? So they don't say anything. They just stay quiet if you don't hear anything. Now, one time, when I was first in this country, I heard all 5 numbers and the extra one. I heard all 6 numbers, but I remembered the 5. And I asked the checker, could I buy the lottery ticket with the 5 numbers? She couldn't sell it to me. I had to go over there somewhere. And by the time I got over there somewhere, I only remembered 4 numbers. And at that point, I got, in those days, about $175 for that, which bought us food, which is what I needed it for. Okay, so I heard those numbers, but I didn't retain them all. So that's another thing that happens. We could be worrying about everything and be consciously in the zone, as we say, trying to focus on what we're doing and get a clear perception and hoping our spirit guides are there, and asking, with the powers that be, God, whoever it is, to help us, and we focus. And then a few days later, we find out that all that focus doesn't work, or it's out of date, or someone else is bringing something else to you that's better. But you've had to go through the process of your mindset saying, I think I know what I'm doing, I'm going to do it, only to find out you can't do it. Or it doesn't work or something. I'm facing that all the time with the computers. but the life is like that. The conscious mind is a lion in sheep. So you could say, I really have to go up the road to buy, I don't know, cornflakes, just to make it silly. And you're ready to go out, everything's ready, the phone goes, there's a message you didn't expect, it keeps you in the house all day sorting out that message and all the people concerned with that message, and everything ties you down, and you're, at the end of the day you suddenly go, I didn't get the cornflakes, okay? Now at that point, you might hear from the guides, forget the cornflakes, you need Rice Krispies. Or it might be tomorrow. You just have one word and you think it's your own thought, but there's a difference. You feel different. So what do you feel when you feel it's something important?
You feel in a state of elation. and you know what direction that you need to go in order to make the sound decision that you need to move forward with, because we're focused.
But not everybody is as intellectual as you. So when I said feel, I mean feel. What do you feel?
Well, that is exactly what I feel. It's no longer a nagging thought or a nagging voice or a nagging something to tell us to do what. Okay, so we've gotten the idea that, but we also got to remember too that our ego can send us in different directions. It also has the ability to create false thoughts. You know, that chatter that we have, and so it's one thing to say, hey. We all have a monkey mind, and we got this and we got that. Now we've gotten our clarity. Now we can move forward with that direction because we have the focus now, because our higher self told us that the secret, or provided us with the guidance that we needed in order to make the sound judgment. It is that voice in our heads that we have to sometimes say to our higher self, shut the hell up. Because if we don't, we won't be able to find, we won't be able to find the middle or the median strip as to what direction we really need to go into and what we really should be listening to. And sometimes we can get overwhelmed by these thoughts and feelings, and we can lose touch with reality that we're trying to focus on. And this is why I will always advocate, and I'm sure Margaret will too, is that during meditation, it's always a good idea to let some thoughts come and go, and breathe through the process that allow you, rather than becoming obsessed with the focus that you want. So, in other words, if you want to manifest the fact that you want to win the lottery, don't just sit there and focus on that thing or any. Well, just that one thing in particular. Let the thought come, let it go, and just catch it. It's like catch and release. You're fishing for something, waiting for that clarity, and then you let it go and see if it comes back to you. And it's like pushing and pulling. You're pulling a cart. Okay, we need to go up a hill. Can we go up a hill? Your mind is going to rationalize with you to say, no, we can't. It's too high. The mountain's too big. It's too rocky. I can't do this. My feet are sore. I don't have the energy. And so rather than obsessing over one intense thought, there's a greater chance that we will lose touch in the here and now. And we need to focus when you are going into a deepened state of meditation or a deepened state of consciousness. We need to make sure that we are grounded in the here and now so that we can focus more clearly.
So what she's just explained is how intellect and study work in psychology and psychiatry works. And so I'm going back in time to meditations again when, for example, there were people who were meditating and they were literally doing this with their body up and down, trying to get their spirit, shake their spirit out of their body so that they could say they were having an out-of-body experience. And then, of course, we had everybody doing marijuana, so, okay, we're high and we're sitting there, and it's so funny when you're not doing it and you're sitting there and someone says, it's a nice night. And you silence for 5 minutes, and then someone says, yes, it is. I was sitting out there, in my 20s, I had my kids with me, and I, of course, wasn't smoking. And didn't do any street drugs or anything. I was so clean, only did sleeping pills. And I told them about comfrey. And they done that with marijuana. And unknown to me, they picked some, because it grows wild over in England, and they picked it, dried it, and were smoking it. And I just told them, because Spirit told me comfrey will also put you in meditation. And so they've done the same as they would with marijuana. And so I thought they were on marijuana, but that wasn't. That was comfrey. And so they had this slow, like, I hear you, but I have to process it like this, and I'll be here thinking about it for 5 minutes, and then I'll reply. And I thought that was really interesting. Now, the reason I'm saying that's interesting, because I'm always learning it, throughout my life, was I'm watching this and I'm thinking, I wish I could slow my mind down like that. I didn't want to smoke what they were smoking, but I wish I could think something as a complete thought and then wait on it, muse on it. And that actually taught me quite a bit to not run at the mouth in my head. Because states of mind often are, let's make something up and say, you're going to go to a court and you're going to talk about something somebody did as a witness. And while you're talking about that, you're remembering all the videos you saw in different movies that you've seen. What comes to my mind is the trials after the war finished, World War II, and they brought all the bad people, call them that for the moment, to court, and they had the trials that went on for a long time, as to who hurt who and who was going to be killed and who was going to be in prison for life or whatever. And that was a very big head thing at the time. It was in everybody, revenge or, payback time or something in some way. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is that back in those days, watching these people who were smoking, there was no judgment in there. It was just, okay, I hear you. I'll take a while, I'll reply. And then another hour would go by, and then the other one would say something like, I like this. This is nice. And the other one would be quiet for a while. And then they say, yes, we should show this to someone else. You see, there was never any, we shouldn't do this anymore, or this is different, or I could market it, and I could spend a fortune, right? There was no judgment. And I want to say that we all have learned throughout our life to judge ourselves and judge everyone. So when we come to meditations, there are certain people who congregate together and say, this is the only way, the best way to meditate. Right? And you try it, and then you're like, this doesn't work for me. And then someone else comes along, well, we could do, in India we do it this way, so you could do it this way, and you try it, and it's like, still your mind's running 100 miles an hour.
But I've also noticed too that with altered states of mind, especially when smoking marijuana or just drinking alcohol, is that is why they commonly phrase you are talking as your real self when you are when you are drinking or smoking an illicit drug, so to speak, because you are in an altered state of mind. You are really speaking from the lower levels of consciousness that we don't really tap into all that often. So there have been often times, I've been there, done that with smoking marijuana, especially in my younger years, and I'm like, did I really say that? And conversations really do slow down to the point where you are literally one maybe a couple of sentences, if you are really focused. A couple of sentences might only be said in a space of 15 minutes, and you'd be like, but in your mind you think you've had a massive conversation, and you really
That's what I'm saying. So, in many ways, what people need to understand is that when they first learn to meditate, that's not the first lesson. The first lesson is to stop worrying about your 900 issues of problems, okay? And the second lesson is to let yourself trust your intuition, your instinct, whatever you want to call it, your faith in God, whatever you want to call that, and your faith in yourself. So here I think it's important to interject now that this world is a different place from what it was when I was a young woman. And the kids all born are very psychic. So there isn't such a demand for meditation amongst them because they're born with the intuitive part that we, the old folks, were trying to get to. Okay, it's already in them. I was an exception too. It was already in me, but I had to go the pathway to find out it was in me. And the children of the future will do the same. But look at how, I'm not even going into meditation right here in my mind. I'm trying to help people understand that the conscious mind is a liar and a cheat. It will tell you you've got answers by bringing that picture, that image I was talking about forward from, in my case, the money floating down. It really seemed at the time like I was being told that I would make lots of money. Well, I did, but not that way. It didn't come in lottery or anything. It came with hard work and travel around the world. And then even when I made a lot, I'd come back and pay up my stones, my bills, this and that. I still, and this is where I'm really trying to bring the point home, barely scraping the barrel of money to pay my own personal bills and things in the home. So no, I wasn't, for all the more money I was making, I was not making extra that I could squander it. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So the rationale of what I saw from my own brain was telling me a message that I will make money, but it didn't tell me how to manage it. It didn't tell me how to take care of it. And both my husband and I looked back over the years when he did the taxes and everything, because I never hid it. I always declared everything I made. And he said, we should have learned to manage money a lot differently from the way we did. Mm-hmm. And I can say that of everyone. And right now, if we look at the president and the whole system and making more dollars and whatever, we put the house values up and suddenly, my house is worth twice the value it was before. Well, that's not going to last. It's going to dump. We're going to have a crash, How many times do we have to have a crash before we stop and say, why are we thinking the way we're thinking? So this is what I'm talking about, mindsets. I'm talking about the conditioning, the way we think. So what we do when we do go into meditation is we take that way of thinking as gospel and work on it, when in reality that way of thinking has been imposed upon us to believe that way. And ultimately one day when we do get past our conscious mind, we find out we've got a whole different scenario underneath.
Exactly, which is why I want to talk about the monkey mind, because the monkey mind is a perfect metaphor, and it's closely related to Buddhism or Zen, which is basically the ego mind. The ego mind constantly flitters between conscious thoughts of love and unconscious thoughts of fear. And so that is how we separate the conscious and unconscious mind in terms of the way that the Buddhist analogy of it. We can go from being non-focused flickering to an intentional, using that unfocused tool of the ego to perpetuate the confusion, attachments to duality, and the resulting in a state of suffering. And so you got to also remember here that the ego's life depends on a conscious state of confusion. For with stillness and peace comes enlightenment and death to the fearful attachments of our ego mind. And so with that said, the metaphor of the monkey mind and how we flip and flop all the time traps our own consciousness into illusion and suffer, and basically we suffer because that's what we are. We're basically flipping and flopping, can't figure it out because we are suffering from illusion, and we perpetuate that through fear.
Well, yes and no to all of it. I agree with you 100% that we all do get into fear and loss and all the things you mentioned earlier. But we're doing it. It's like going into a drama in a play on the stage, and you know your role. And today you're going to be the monster, and tomorrow you might be the angel. You know, whatever the show is about is your life. And so, any other persons that come into your life, they're actors in the scene as well. And so you interact with them and you do your thing and you respond with yay or nay, good or bad or whatever in some way. And then you come home and you think, why is this happening to me? And then you think, I have to meditate on this. I have to think on this. And the more we analyze thinking about it, the more we talk about to ourselves, self-talk, you know, well, if I'd have done this and it could have been that and we should have moved to and maybe not and perhaps something, and where is my spirit guides who are supposed to advise me, and I'll pray to God 400 times and I'll ask the minister to pray for me and because I don't feel worthy to ask him. It's all these mindsets that people have, that when they pray on their knees or wherever they are, or sit with their back to a tree, it doesn't really matter where you are, you've got to dump all that garbage that's going on and on and on. And when you think about the 100 monkey scenario, when we've seen enough people come forward and say, I can meditate, then we start to go, oh, I can't meditate. I should learn to meditate. I want to be the same as them. And then what happens? I want to be the super meditator. I want to be the best one who meditates. And then I'm going to go out and teach everyone else to meditate. One problem. You can't teach everyone to meditate the way you meditate because no two minds are the same.
And not only that, when you break it down, for those who say that their meditation absolutely sucks, well, there's three main reasons why that could be happening. It could be a lack of preparation before you practice. In other words, you haven't gotten rid of the environmental contributors to why you're still in a state of chaos. Your daily habits and attitudes are not supporting what you or how you practice meditation in the first place, and you're not actually focusing enough. But the first point is about what you do to meditate before you practice, and the second is what you do outside of what you practice, and the third is about the meditation process in itself, of how you focus that attention.
Well, the first thing, obviously, is you've got to still the conscious mind and tell it to shut up and be quiet. But, of course, the moment you do that, it's going to go on, rabbiting on, So what I find for most people is relaxation. To learn to switch off the physical body and not pay attention to it. And one of the things, of course, when I was teaching, by the way, I'm going to show this book right now, 50 Spiritually Powerful Meditations. This has been printed in India for years. It's not up right now. All my books are down, by the way. We're redoing them, and this one will be redone as well. I want to update it as well. But this has been sold from India and all over the world since 94, I think it is, something like that. But anyway, it's had many, many editions. And the thing about that was every single one of those 50 meditations I have done. So I can tell by my personal experience, they work, okay? But I had to write them as a script. And what happened was people would come back to me and say, how do I meditate and read the script at the same time? You know, I said, no. You're supposed to take the script. So I don't know what one I'm going to open it, but this is going to give people an idea. Oh, that's appropriate. Meditation for receiving, number 15. Okay. So this is what you would do if you have a copy of this book. You would then receive it. Get yourself, what was that? Get yourself into a state of meditation and read it like this. Relax in a comfortable chair. Play some meditation music and gently allow yourself to focus on receiving. So you're kind to yourself. Now this is just a setup. This is not actually in the meditation. I'm gonna jump to another part. Say your own special prayer and ask your spirit guides to come and share with you. Breathe deeply. Now here I would update it with, I was reading it for myself and I would say something like, that's right, breathe in and slowly breathe out. Let's do that again. Breathe in and slowly breathe out. But I couldn't put this in the script because of the rules of the publisher. And I'll say no more than that. So it's missing those. So one of the things I would say to people, when you take this script, embellish it according to how you would like to hear it. Okay? So you need to put breathes and things like that. Now, if some of them are saying relax the body, it's like breathe in and focus on your knee. And as you focus on your knee, you allow it to release stress. You know, whatever it is, breathe in. So these are just scripts that one can embellish, and you're recording it onto your recorder on your phone or wherever you want, so that you can listen to your own voice bringing you into a state of meditation. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, let me flip that over. Before I wrote that, back in those days, it was all about buy someone else's meditations and listen to them. And for some people that worked, but for a lot of people it didn't. Why? Because the person who's recorded it is saying it according to their mind and their ways, which doesn't suit the whole world. So a lot of people that would like it, and there's a lot of people who, it doesn't do much for me, and there's a lot of people who are going to go, that's really, really S-H-O-T. Because their mindsets have different opinions. So meditation is very personal. So no matter who you are, whatever you decide you want to do, you need to do your homework and search around and find out what's going on. But I want to come back to the mindsets again. You might be depressed. And in being depressed, your conscious mind only sees negative things. So even when you meditate, you're only going to be working on negative things.
Yes, but that's because it's easier to be negative than what it is to be positive. It takes a lot of hard work to become positive in the first place.
It takes a lot of time,
that's what we talk about.
A lot of patience, and a lot of deprogramming of all those negative experiences. And meditation will help you deprogram it.
And we talk so much about how we're unhappy, how we're trying to strive for the pursuit of happiness, whatever that may be, to each and every own's personal view. And so we talk about how we can raise our frequencies. Well, if we're already at a state of a high frequency or a high vibration, or call it whatever you want, a high state of bliss, a high state of joy, whatever you want to call it, then we wouldn't have to be so negative. However, we are always, from the moment that we are born, put into a state of it's almost like black and white. There's no median strip in between. There's the gray areas and unexplored. It's either I'm happy or I'm sad, or I'm hot or I'm cold. It is the state of duality that the Buddhists talk about when they are going through Zen meditations. And then when we do come across Zen meditations, we kind of relate, because we're like, oh shoot, we can now filter out what is good and what is bad. And so when we get out of that state that everything is good and everything is bad, that's why I started off the show, is that, in terms of meditation and how we get there, nothing is good nor bad. And so once we go into that gray area, that's when we can kind of find our footing as to where we're at in terms of how we can meditate and how we can achieve the altered state of consciousness that we need for our higher selves or spirit guides or whatever we want to call it, to actually give us the clarity that we need to get to uncloud our judgment.
Yeah, everything I agree with you. But let's go back to what we really need to understand is the state of mind. I mentioned depression, could be ecstasy, that you've got a wonderful job, but suddenly it comes crashing down and now you're in crying in tears. There's just so many different emotions we have that affect our conscious thinking. And the thing that I really want to restate here is that every thought that you have is controlled by your face, your five senses, goes into the cells in your body. So the very first thing that I see all my students throughout the years, and there's been thousands and thousands of them, has had one common factor. They don't know how to relax the body. And as long as the body is not relaxed, the brain is saying, for example, undo this, move it around so I'm comfortable. Now you lay back and think, I'm ready, and then all of a sudden you're just doing this again. Why? It's a habit, it's a routine, it's correlated from the conscious mind to fidget.
Mm-hmm.
And fidget can be anything from, scratch my nose to, I've got something on my head, or, and you don't even realize you're doing it because you're lying there and you're trying to meditate and you're trying to empty your mind. And let's say while you're trying to empty your mind, you're thinking, I won't think about grandma. Immediately you think that grandma is in your brain and you're remembering and you're doing something anatomically in your body relative to the memories of grandma. And so it's very, very difficult to take the conscious mind into the subconscious and then on into the deep subconscious. So I have a hypnosis meditation that I gave at the Hypnosis Federation conference to 200 women and men in the room, because no one had heard of the three-mind induction. Any hypnosis or anywhere you go, they would talk about the conscious and subconscious and say that you are in the subconscious under hypnosis and you are healing yourself, mind, body, and spirit, and all the rest of it. So I did this three-mind induction, and I do it with counting, if anybody listening wants a copy of it, I can find that and put it up. I haven't shared it yet. I shared all the other meditations and things that I've done, but not this one. Partly because in the front of it is my lecture before I actually put them through it. But coming back to after I'd done it, where I'm not saying how it's done, because obviously I don't want to hypnotize people now, but I take them from relax the body into the mind, conscious mind, visualizing, going into the subconscious. And then from there, with more things I'm saying, going from the subconscious, the conscious mind is now joined with the subconscious, and the subconscious are one. And this goes back into the deep subconscious so that all three become one. And then when I got them in that state, then I put some very simple suggestions in, like I love myself, or, nothing, because they're all hypnotists and I don't want to screw with them in some way. So I was careful what I said, and it was basically, around love. And after the lecture was finished, nobody left the room. They all lined up to talk to me and to ask me, did I have a pattern on it? Could they use it? It was amazing. It was the deepest they'd ever done. A lot of them had seen their images of their spirit guides, and some of them heard words because their brain is more intellectual, so they tend to hear rather than see. Some physical people see more than they do hear. Some people feel like they suddenly became a guide or something. So all these different things that people experience. And so I just said to them, because, I said, if you can remember it, or you can buy a copy, they make a copy at conferences of your lecture and thing. I said, buy a copy of that. And you got it. You're welcome to use it. Well, I didn't think any more back because I had to go back to the booth and do whatever. At the end of the day, I went to get my copy of the lecture, and the guy didn't know who I was because he was just a technical person. And so I said, I'd like a copy of my talk, and I said my name. He said, oh, it's you. And I said, what? He said, I've got so many orders, I can't make them fast enough. So it worked. That was a test for me. And sometimes we need to do that. Now, there's another one that people talk to me about, which is raising the Kundalini. There's a perception that if you raise the energy from the base chakra up to the crown chakra, you will have an explosion through the 5 bodies. And I've done twice, so I can speak for it. And what you see when you get all your energy coming out the top of your head is geometrical shapes, even cylinders like charged toy bricks, stars, which are kind of triangles all put together. I remember the first time I'm just lying there like this, but my eyes are shut, my body's shut, but I'm seeing through my third eye, and I can see all these shapes all cascading out and all down around me, and then they're breaking up into energy and going into my body. Okay? And I admit that was the week someone gave me marijuana. and I was smoking cigarettes, so I'd mix them two together because I didn't know how I was going to do it. And it was about my third or fourth time, and I was going through a legal separation with my ex-husband, and so I was wanting to get rid of that history. Now, after I'd raised that Kundalini and seen that, the next day I got out of bed and I was a different person. I wasn't negative, I wasn't worried, I wasn't thinking about this and that. I was cool, calm, and sweet, okay? But I want to tell people, don't try to raise the Kundalini, because unless you know, and there's a special technique that I'm not sharing, because if you don't know, you could give yourself, number one, you could blow your brain out and burn all the nerve endings in your brain. Number two, you could create internal combustion, which means you have so much energy within that it burns you from the inside out. And there are actually pictures, you can go online and search it, of internal combustion, and you'll see a whole room is not set on fire. The chair the person is sitting in is not on fire, but there's just 1 foot left in ashes. So, I'm scaring people because I want people to understand that raising the Kundalini doesn't work unless you're doing it in the cold. Now, most people, when they're trying to do that, will be doing it in the heat because they're focused on their body. You can't do it. You have to be able to be in your spirit consciousness completely and utterly, and then it happens. And for me, because I have very powerful ascended master guides like archangels, and even Socrates is still teaching me from time to time. They're all ascended, they're all great beings now. And they'll come to any of us who is open to receive them, but they're only going to give you where you're at and what you're good at. And at that time, when I raised that first time, the Kundalini, I didn't know I was going to do that. I had to go through an orgasm of my physical body, an orgasm of my etheric body, an orgasm of my spirit body, an orgasm of my higher mind body, and an orgasm of my soul body to get there. And each one felt differently. The orgasms were not the same, but they were, shall I say, an explosion of energy into the next body. And that would build up an explosion of that energy into the next body, and so on. But by the time it's in your soul, none of the things you think are important matter at all. So I woke up the next morning, it was like, okay, Everybody's fussing around. I'm just standing in observation, watching them all. So that's what a lot of people think they want to do. And I was taken there by my spirit guides. I did not do that on my own, okay, because I'm a medium, a trance medium. So they put me in trance and took me through it twice, okay, for different reasons the second time. And they took me through it so I would know how it is. And that first time that I did it, I was in England. I had to go to another conference. I used to do a lot of conferences, keynote speaker and all that in England. So I went to this other conference. I was talking about channeling and stuff like that in those days. And someone came up to me and they were aggressive and angry and yelling at me. And I'd never seen them. I didn't know them. And as I'm standing there, remembering I've got this fresh in my mind about the fact that I've raised it with spirit, and this person, it suddenly came into my head, this person has tried to raise the Kundalini and they've got it stuck in the midriff. Mm-hmm. And so to prove the point, I said this person's ranting away me and I said, stop, you were raising the Kundalini, weren't you? They went, like this, shock, because I knew. And then I made them sit down and I pushed all the energy back down in, with healing into the right position. Now, there's people watching this and I haven't even got to do my channeling talk yet. As a result of him then being fine afterwards and apologizing and thanking me that he felt normal again and so on, I was able to go onto the stage and make my talk with that as a key. If I hadn't have had that guy ranting and raving at me, I may never have mentioned about the Kundalini, okay? So soon after, that period of time, there were so many people coming to me saying, I want to raise the Kundalini, what do I do? And I have to say, and it's not in my meditation book either, I will not encourage anyone to do that because it will kill you. If you do not have the medium ability to work with your oneness spirit guides who will protect you and make sure you get there, you will burn yourself out. You will come out of it being mentally disturbed. So I'm really putting that up front, and that is a state of mind. So you can have a state of mind that you're an ascended master and do it, and if you are an ascended master, you'll probably get there. But if you're truly just trying to tell yourself you are because you're specialized in a something, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to raise it. So I'm saying to people loud and clear, don't do it.
Yeah, and not only that, you have a lot of questionnaires, and you have a lot of people that are doing articles now. The market is saturated with information, and so people, common society right now, in terms of modern day, and this is not a new thing at all. Is that we are searching for a sense of identity, and so we are looking for something to label ourselves, or something like the Kundalini raising the Kundalini, I should say, in order to give ourselves a desired effect of whatever outcome it may be, thinking it's going to fix all of our problems, or by thinking that we are a certain type of alien is going to fix all of our problems because I'd have a sense of identity and belong to the group of aliens that we label ourselves to be.
Mm. And when, and this, today, I just really come away from the topic for a minute. Today, with the class that was taking, one of my students is teaching here, and they were doing Reiki. And, the education has to go according to the Reiki master, and so they're teaching according to the way that is. But he's added